Hello! So, today is my audition, and so I am all ready to go. We will see how it goes. I am definitely excited. I'm gonna be singing at the Dolby Theater. I think it is an amazing experience. I am so excited to go on that stage, and I'm gonna just leave it all on the floor. So I hope that they like it, and I hope that everyone in the audience and the judges like it, so we will see.
And now for Hollywood Week. So I think that was the only thing I vlogged for Hollywood Week, just because, again, I was just so in the moment for Hollywood Week that I barely vlogged or anything. So I am here to talk about my experience with Hollywood Week. So I only got to experience genre round, and for my genre I chose soul. And so I was between pop and soul because I'm like a pop artist, but I feel like there's soulful elements in me, and that's the main reason why I chose it. I feel like I sing with a lot of soul, and so that's why I went with soul, and I sang Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper. And so it was similar to the auditions, how the first 2 days were quarantined. We would get COVID tested every 3 days, and so the other 2 days were performance days. And so the genre round performances were split into 2 days. The first day was the first group, second day was second group. I was the second group. And so that first day I was watching some performances. Some of them were so good. I watched Xavier's performance of Gravity. Amazing. And Alex Miller's performance. It was so good. I got up on my feet. It was amazing. And the great thing about Hollywood Week is that you get to meet so many amazing artists that, have the same drive and that same passion as you. It's just that connection you get me with other musicians. And I mean, obviously too, being at the Dolby, I met the Dolby Theater, that's where they do the Oscars. That's insane. I never thought that I would be there, let alone singing on that stage. Just being there, I was no matter what happens, just being here in itself is such an amazing opportunity, and so I was really grateful to be there. And I watched some of the performances, and then we went back. I did some interviews and stuff like that, and I did a rehearsal as well. I did filming. And another thing about Hollywood Week that was different to the auditions, in Hollywood Week, because I'm a minor and I'm still in school, I have to do school. We have on-site tutors, and it was actually really nice because I didn't go to any of my classes because of the time difference, and so it was nice to have the tutors and do that. And we were with all the other minors, so it was you're always with the minors because the adults still have to do school, of course, because they're not in school, so they're doing other stuff. So you're mainly with the minors for a lot of the time. And there was about 30 minors, and there was about 170 people in Hollywood Week. And I think there was only 5 15-year-olds. There wasn't that many 15-year-olds, at least that I met. Another thing I want to talk about with Hollywood Week is the COVID protocols. So I also got asked a lot, what did you do about COVID? So we did have to maintain social distance. Another thing, we had to wear masks at all times. So on the show, you don't see anyone on mask, but that's because if you're being filmed, you don't have your mask on. So they're okay, you're being filmed, take off your mask. And so we always had to wear our mask, even for drinking. They're okay, so for drinking you have to open your mask this way, and then you drink water. And yeah, it was, and we had designated areas to drink and eat, so we couldn't just drink wherever. We had to drink and eat in those specific places. There was hand sanitizer everywhere. They had gloves and masks that you can just get. All of the chairs were also separate, they were all placed 6 feet apart. So they did a very good job with that. They were constantly sanitizing everything. And of course I had to get tested every 3 days. And so the day before my performance, I remember I watched Outer Banks to relax. I drank tea because I started to feel nervous, so my throat was getting weird. I took some vitamin C, one of those packet thingy-majiggers, and I drank tea, and I went to sleep early fun fact, so the day before my audition, we went to the holding room, and Bobby Bones was there, and I was oh my god, it is the Bobby Bones. But I didn't want to go and say hi, because I don't know, I was oh so I was actually with other girls, and the other girls called him over, and oh my god, you want to know actually something? This is actually embarrassing. So he was asking all the other girls. So he was like, oh, it's like, where are you from? So one of them was like, oh, I don't know, California. And the other one was like this. And so I was mentally prepared to say Miami. And then he goes, so what's your name? And I go, Miami. I died of embarrassment. I died of embarrassment. And then he was like, okay. And I was like,
I never heard of this.
Yeah. And then I was kind of just there like, but he was nice. He was so nice. Like, I think he was probably like, he noticed I was nervous. The first thing he said was like to get some sleep and like embrace the nerves, like turn that into good energy, and he gave us some tips. I was dying of embarrassment, but he gave some nice tips. And then for the day of my performance, I woke up early. I did go to school, and I was like I remember I was doing my annotations for Animal Farm and playing tic-tac-toe with Alex because he was sitting in front of me, and I literally could not concentrate because all I could think about was that I was going to the Dolby soon and singing on the Dolby Theater. And so the way they did it was that they aligned us like by line. So you know how like when you get cut they take out your line, so that's like the line of performers. So they have like different like sets, I guess you could say. And so like for example the Soul, a line of 10, and so your line would perform like back to back. And so the way that they did it was they called my line and they set us up, and then we would wait backstage. And I was so mad because I didn't bring my phone, so like I didn't take any backstage pictures. I didn't do any of that. And so we were just waiting. They were filming like some backstage stuff and whatnot, and then they were like, okay, you're up. I sang time after time, and we had to say why we think we're the next American Idol, and then I sang my song. And the acoustics in the Dolby are so good. I like heard, I heard everything. Like, it was so good. I was starstruck by the Dolby. I was like, I could not believe it. Like, when they told us that we were singing at the Dolby, I just died like right then and there. And so I sang my song. I was very nervous. It was funny because I didn't think I was nervous until I started singing and I heard myself and my voice was shaky. It got better throughout the performance, but I could tell like I was nervous. What's different about Hollywood Week is that in Hollywood Week the judges don't give you any feedback compared to the audition. And so I just finished my song, I got up and I walked off, and then I watched like everyone else in my line sing their song, and then they were like, okay, you're done, basically. I went to go have lunch. I was more nervous after I sang than before because I was like, okay, I already sang, now I just have to wait and see what happens. And then we went back into the Dolby and we kind of just sat there for a while. We were like writing songs and just singing, and they were like, okay, you're gonna go on stage for your results. And so we all walked in onto the stage. And so, fun fact, so I'm supposed to be all serious, right? But Katie was doing like, she was just doing like a bunch of weird faces. And so, right, like, like the camera was like all dramatic and they were like showing us, and I'm just here like smiling, and it was just like, so they're like, okay, so if we call your name, step forward. And they started calling up like really good people, like, like people I'm like, okay, they're going through for sure. And they didn't call me, and I was like, no. And it was actually me and someone else who was also 15, and she also got cut. As I walked off stage, I congratulated everyone, and we were actually walking off, and Lionel was like, oh, like, keep going, guys, like, you guys are talented. And that was really nice of him. And like they were all like looking at us, like they were smiling and stuff. And so the judges are really nice, like they're really nice and they're really honest. And so I walked off, and the producer goes, so guys, just a heads up, as soon as you walk out, there's gonna be a camera like on you. And I was like, thanks for the heads up. And so I walked into the interview, and they're like, so like, how do you feel? Are you sad, like, that you got cut? And I was like, no, like, I'm obviously sad. And I felt like I started choking up, but I didn't want to cry. So I was like, like, I'm obviously sad, but it's such an amazing experience that I'm so grateful for. And like, it's true, like, I was obviously, I feel like if you were to get cut, like, you would obviously be sad, but I was still so grateful for having gotten that opportunity. And so I said that, and then I went off, and I was waiting for my dad, and I did get to the hotel room and I did cry. But I mean, it's like a normal thing, you know? And I'm still so grateful for having gotten the opportunity that I got. And I guess here's where the reflection comes in to this whole experience. So what did I get out of this? American Idol, like this whole experience was such an amazing one because I feel like the Sophia that auditioned for, you know, the producers in July wasn't the same person that came out of this, because I just grew so much and learned so much about myself as an artist and like what type of artist do I want to be, and as a person too, like so many things I learned about myself, and it was such a beautiful experience for me. I had never done anything related to TV, so it was so different, but it was so cool and something also like out of my comfort zone. From what I learned by doing it, like I learned so many different things that I know I can use in my craft now. So it was overall just such an amazing experience, and I'm just so grateful for it. And so now I'm gonna answer some questions that I got that I wanted to address in this video. So the first thing is, are there any auditions that you have to do before auditioning for the judges, like celebrity judges? And the answer is yes. There are actually a couple auditions. And so the way you would audition is you would sign up for an open call, and those are usually on their website, and you like would create like a performer account and you would sign up for a city, and that one you would have to pay for yourself. And there are like thousands of people, and it's usually like they usually hold them like at convention centers and stuff like that. But because of COVID, I know they did them via Zoom. But for me, the case was different because I was contacted by a casting director, and so they were like, oh, do you want to audition for the show? And I was like, yes, of course I do. And so the casting director contacted me when I was 14, so I was too young, and they're like, oh, we're gonna have to wait a year. And so we waited a year, and then she was like, you're old enough now, let's audition. Like the normal ways, you would go to an open call, you would audition for a casting director, and then if the casting director likes you, you'll audition for the executive producers, and if the executive producers like you, you will most likely go through like an interview, and then they'll like tell you like, oh, like yes, you're good to go, or no, we don't want you. But for me it was different because I was contacted by a casting director. So instead of going to an open call, I went directly to the executive producers and auditioned for them via Zoom. It was on Zoom. I sang them my songs basically, and then they were like, we like you, and I was like, cool. And they're like, we're gonna put you through to the next step, and it was the interview. And so my interview was actually really long. My interview was like 2 hours long, and I like had my interview with a girl, and then I filled out some like papers and stuff, and they told me, okay, we'll let you know whether or not you made it through the show. And 2 weeks later they were like, you're going to California. And this time they flew me to California, and I went to Ojai. And so how long does this process take? That was another question. So it takes a while. So for me, this had been since I was 14, and then we waited a year. And then so they were like, in March, once I turned 15, they were like, okay, now you can audition. And this was in March, and then I had my executive producer audition in July, and my interview in July, like it was that same day, and then my Ojai audition, like my celebrity judge audition, was in November. It was like November 17, November 18, something like that. And then Hollywood Week was December, and so that's kind of like the time span of things. And so another question I got was why my audition didn't air, and I got asked this a lot, and it's just because there were way too many people to show. I think for the judges, they only choose like a couple hundred to audition for the judges. So imagine if it was like, I don't know, I was gonna say a random number, like it was like 400 people auditioning for like the celebrity judges. They can't show all 400 people in 5 episodes of 2 hours. Like it doesn't, like they just don't have enough space. It's just because there's way too many people to show. But that's why I'm going to probably put up my song that I sang and all these different things. So to wrap up this video, I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who's been supporting me on my journey on American Idol. It was such a fun ride, and I am so grateful to have gotten this opportunity. It is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of that, and I'm just so happy. I got so much from it. I just want to thank all of you for supporting me. You can check out my Instagram and you can follow along the rest of my musical journey there, and I hope that you like this video.